sets that they'll need to make a difference. Best of all, they embrace the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's mantra, I lead, I serve. An additional 535 may seem like a lofty goal, but with your support, we can increase the placements of interns year by year. So I ask you to give generously to
the heroes of the Civil Rights Movement, whom we lost last month, remind us of the work that remains to be done. American heroes like Louis Stokes, Julian Bond, and Amelia Boynton Robinson.
Well, hi, this is Harvey Elwood, and I am down at the Congressional Black Caucus. They have a series of brain trusts that are going on this afternoon, just excellent sessions where people are talking about all of the important issues of the day. There's an environmental justice brain trust, which Congressman James E. Clyburn is heading up. We were in there, and we're also hoping to have a conversation with him once that concludes. Of course, we know that oftentimes the congressional leaders have to run off to other meetings or sessions or even votes, because this is still a weekday. This is happening during the week. So oftentimes they have to leave and go to other locations. But we're hoping that we will get a comment from him. There are some other congressional leaders that are here as well. There are brain trusts where they're talking about black entrepreneurs and access to capital. Solutions for increasing that access for them to be able to leverage more finances in order to grow their businesses. The leaders from Essence Magazine are here, Inner City Broadcasting, as well as others. So we hope to have an opportunity to talk with them as well. This is Harvey Elwood, New Perspectives Media, 93.7 FM. We want to thank you for tuning in. We hope we can give you some good information.
And I want you just for the next few moments that we have together is just deal with this idea that we are called to make a way. We are called to make a way. If you could turn to your neighbor at this time, don't look at me, I'm in a different neighborhood. If you could turn to your neighbor at this time, just look at your neighbor. Vice President, you have to look at your neighbor right next to you. There you go, thank you. All right, there you go. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, oh neighbor, we are called to make a way. And thank you. It is the South African writer by the name of Olive Schreiner, who was in many ways an intellectual mentor of that great preacher by the name of Howard Thurman. She wrote the story of the African farm. She was a feminist before the term feminism had even been created. She was a part of the anti-apartheid movement before the name anti-apartheid movement had even been designed. It was Howard Thurman who gathered together bits and pieces and portions of what she had written in order to lift up and to encourage and inspire another generation. And it was Olive Schreiner who was always looking at nature, God's creation, that if you look at creation long enough, creation will speak back to you in terms of what God is saying to you. And so there is a story that she tells of a young girl who is looking at a small river, a small brook possibly, and she looks and notices that there are some locusts that are making a track to the river's edge. One locust comes and is swept away by the current, then another comes and is swept away by the current, but then eventually another and another, and they build a bridge to the other side. And then this little girl asks an elder and says, well, I've been watching these locusts, but I noticed that some were swept away. What happened to those who were swept away? And the elder says to the little girl, said, there are always those who will make a track to the river's edge, who will not make it to the other side, but because they made a track to the river's edge, that is the reason that we have made it to the other side of the river. And we must recognize that the reason that we gather here in this space is because there are others who have made a track to the river's edge so that we could make it to the other side of where we are today.
But let's not be mysteriously lulled to sleep. We've got a long, long way to go. Civil rights matter. Black lives matter. Unfortunately, we don't even have citizens today, young people, who will ride 15 minutes to the polls to vote. That is a blood ballot. Many people suffered and died. And but for the grace of God, I would have died. Because my husband and Martin Luther King were in Atlanta, Georgia, when they bombed our house and church. But my friends, we have a long way to go.
Yes, ma'am.
Justice is not just in America.
Justice is not just.
All over this globe, and I've traveled around the world twice, and everybody talks about the racism that still exists in these United States of America. And I tell my friends in Europe, and told some in Asia, you can talk about my country all you want, but I love America with all of her mess. Because one thing about it, and I don't let them talk about America. Is my president here? Mr. President, my president. Because everybody has some ills. Every country needs to improve. And I don't let them talk about America. I say I love America with all of her mess, but we can protest anything we don't like. And in your country, you can't say a word. Many of you are jailed if you dare protest. And I don't take it, I don't allow them to talk about my country. I talk about it because I'm an American, bred and born.
Sides of the aisle that are working with law enforcement and local communities to find a better way forward. And as always, change will not happen overnight. It won't be easy. But if our history has taught us anything, it's taught us that when we come together, when we're working with a sense of purpose, when we are listening to one another, when we assume the best in each other rather than the worst, then change happens. Like every parent, I can't help to see the world increasingly through my daughter's eyes. And on that day, when we're celebrating that incredible March in Selma, I had Ms. Amelia's hand in one of my hands, but Michelle had Sasha's hand. My mother-in-law had Malia's hand. And it was a chain across generations. And I thought about all those women who came before us, who risked everything for life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. So often without notice, so often without fanfare. Their names never made the history books. All those women who cleaned somebody else's house or looked after somebody else's children, did somebody else's laundry, and then got home and did it again, and then went to church and cooked. Then they were marching. And because of them, Michelle could cross that bridge. And because of them, they brought him along, and Malia and Sasha could cross that bridge. And that tells me that if we follow their example, we're going to cross more bridges in the future. If we keep moving forward, hand in hand, God willing, my daughter's children will be able to cross that bridge in an America that's more free, more just, and more prosperous than the one that we inherited. Your children will too. Thank you, CBC. God bless you. God bless this country we love. Thank you.